Welcome to episode 244 of the Necronomicon.com.
You know what's really scary? Book bans. Long a tool of authoritarians, book bans are a direct threat to our freedom to read. That's why Library Foundation SD, Brooklyn Public Library, and other partners across the country have launched Books Unbanned to fight this evil. This campaign makes frequently banned or challenged books available through a digital catalog to young people across the U.S., including states with increasing book bans. Like your local library, it's completely free to sign up. Want to learn more, including how you can help increase access to the books we love? Visit libraryfoundationsd.org.
Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003, offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Officially licensed collections include titles like John Carpenter's The Thing, The Evil Dead, Creepshow, Jaws, the Halloween franchise, and so many more. Head on over to fright-rags.com. Make sure to sign up for their SMS and email newsletter to never miss a drop. Listeners get 10% off when they use the code NECRO10, all caps, at checkout. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now, and I like to think of myself as the Martha Stewart to Don's Snoop Dogg.
And I'm Don Guillory. Now, let me tell you something. The first time I met James Sabata, I was not impressed. I thought, who is this weird motherfucker? And then here we are, 13 years later, annoying the shit out of each other and everyone who's listening. Anyway, I'm Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host, podcast who's listening to, and I was really upset at how angry Mr. Krabs was this whole fucking movie.
It was about the new fish, I think. So we don't have new fish today because Jason McCord, this is your third time on the show. Would you care to introduce yourself and tell everybody about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Jason McCord. I am a horror writer and publisher and producer and I don't know, whatever else is called for. That's just kind of what I do. And yeah, I'm officially annoyed by everything you guys do. So
that's true.
Yeah, can confirm.
I don't blame you. I feel like everyone's annoyed by what we do, but then they say things like, oh, wow, that panel was amazing, or that episode was so good, and they encourage us by accident. Suckers.
Or the money's on the nightstand. No?
My goodness.
You're feeding my ego. Thank you.
So, Jason, I know you have a new book out, right?
I do have a new book out, yes. It is not about a prison in Maine, though, unfortunately, for our purposes.
Well, then we don't want to hear it. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my new book is out. It is called Wounded. And it is as simple as it can possibly be. A bunch of cowboys in a railroad town fight off a vampire.
Sweet.
But they never actually use the word vampire. I had already had a note from someone like, you never say it's a vampire. It's like, no, because it takes place in 1882, and the word vampire just was not in people's lexicon yet. So, yeah. But yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Well, if I may,
Yes.
I love that you're going that route with it as far as like having a Western with vampires. And because the complaint that I remember, oh gosh, now I can't remember his name, but the guy who's now in charge of all the Star Wars shit. No, the other guy, I can't remember. I'm sorry, all the Marvels. Anyway, he made made a comment saying, you know, when he made Cowboys and Aliens, I can't remember his name, but anyway, when they made that movie, his criticism, or the criticism that he was getting, was like, why the fuck are you making a movie about cowboys and aliens? And the response that he gave was, why not? Why would aliens only be, I don't know, in the modern era, the modern period, or anything like that? Why can't we play around with that? And the same thing with vampires. Like, a lot of the stuff that we typically get is in an urban setting. or it's in a specific time period, or it's Dracula related. So I love the idea of taking it to the Old West, or the Western states, or the Western area of the United States, and break up kind of that, I guess, just kind of that adherence to that old style.
Yeah,
Nothing
absolutely.
against it. It's just we want something new, want something different.
Yeah, well, and that's where this story, because originally it was set more modernly. It actually started off as kind of like a Michael Crichton-esque, techno thriller type thing, but I couldn't get the story to work, and then I just kept pushing it further and further back until it got to a point where I was like, oh, okay. And then I found a lot of historical records, but the book is actually very historically accurate, with the exception of the vampire, but everything else about it is historically accurate. Because there's all these pop-up towns that came up out of nowhere. There's no records, there's no official anything, there's no law, there's no government, there's no, so it's very conceivable that there could have been, an animal attack of some kind, and no one wrote it down. A bunch of railroad guys. So yeah, it worked out. And again, I wanted to read that kind of story, and no one was writing it, so I did.
My God, it's like the advice that we've always gotten all of our lives.
Right? Yeah. So it works out really well. But I like it. It's standard creature feature, and it doesn't really have much to say about anything. It's just 6 shooters and blood. It's fantastic.
Don, did you just hear him challenge you to find the social commentary in his book? Because I think that's what just happened.
I'm sure he could, because the main character is a former Confederate soldier. So,
Jesus Christ. Wait, I'm going to give you the same thing that was said in Lovecraft Country. There's no such thing as a former Confederate.
No, he actually does make that point in the book. He makes that point.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So normally I would jump into the movie, but I want to take a minute because all three of us were at Phoenix Fan Fusion recently. And this is a con that, number one, I met Don at. And, I feel like it's home to me, right? And we had amazing panels. And I just wanted to take a moment to say, if any of you are ever able to come to this con, do it. We have worked really hard to build an amazing horror group who put on amazing panels all fucking day long, every day, consistently ranked like the highest, like the ones that the audience loves the most. Yes, they're the highest reviewed panels, and we've worked really hard on this. And if you can make it, amazing, do so. And if you're somewhere really far away and you have other cons like this, go support the shit out of the horror panels, because that's how we keep building this community. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to take a moment and ask both of you if you had anything that you would like to tell listeners about these kinds of cons, why they should attend, what you get out of it, any of that kind of shit.
I'll let the guests go first.
Oh, I appreciate that. So my big thing is, and everything I do is always about, I jokingly say it's for the culture. But that is truly the case. I want to promote and encourage more and better horror. Everything I do is about that. And the cons are a great way, because every time I go, and this last year, 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, I had someone approach me and be like, I never considered horror before, but now I'm really excited. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm paraphrasing, but that was kind of the gist of it. And that to me it's worth it. That's it. Like if I got that one person who's like, I'm going to look at horror now, that's the big thing. That's the thing I love about it, because we talk about the extreme stuff that everyone, the deep cut stuff that big mega fans are into. We also want to talk about the stuff that's, the entry level things and the, getting your feet wet with simpler things like Shawshank, to tie that in there. It's horror, but it's not as, it's not scary horror in the typical sense. It's not Hellraiser or anything. So we got those different levels with it. It's fun, it's engaging, but we also do get to talk about those deeper topics, because horror is naturally a pretty deep subject matter. At least it usually is, unless you're writing about vampires fighting cowboys. But it's really interesting to have these conversations that come out of left field, and you can't have those conversations organically anywhere else. Like these kinds of environments just foster the best conversations. It's amazing.
I love that. What about you, Don?
A good bit of what Jason said, but also the idea that, and I've said this in front of panels before, at least at the beginning of panels, in front of audiences, that you shouldn't feel weird for what you're into. I mean, unless you're into something that is about harming somebody, definitely don't do that. But or harming yourself. But the idea that you have interest, you have fandoms where people are basically told like something's wrong with them because they like whatever that is. Like, grew up in the 80s, so for me it was, Dungeons and Dragons and rock music were like the thing that were going to get you to worship the devil. But it's all it's about rejecting the way that society may try to shape you, as far as like the kind of person you're going to be, or the interests, or just turn you into this generic being. And what the cons do is they give you this opportunity to be your true self. They give you an opportunity to find your family, have an accepted family, have a chosen family, one that's going to, help foster your talents, foster your desires, your ambitions, as opposed to someone on the outside telling you you can't do these things. You have people who are genuinely interested in, television shows, comics, movies, whatever genre of literature there happens to be. And they want this stuff because it's given them an outlook on the world that pleases them, that satisfies some need that they have, when the regular world is just beating the shit out of them.
Definitely. And I've met so many of my closest friends at cons, especially Phoenix, but just in general. And I think that it's a very interesting way to find people that you already have something in common with. And so you can skip all that bullshit of like trying to find out what we have in common. And instead you can be like, oh shit, you like Frankenhooker enough to come to a panel about it. I don't know why I chose Frankenhooker, but whatever. But my point is, like, it's such a cool way to find things you already have in common. But the other thing I love about it is I always find new stuff that way. And like stuff I would have never known that I might find interesting. I'll see like a crazy cosplay and be like, what the fuck is that? And then watch the show, So I love the community building of it. And I love the way that the same people come back over and over again. So you see these people, and like we have people that come to our panels. I don't even know their names, but as soon as I see them, I'm like, oh shit, of course you're here. You've been at my panels for 7 years in a row. Like it's such a cool feeling. And I do absolutely love how I have found so many of my best friends that way as well. But yeah, I don't know. Just wanted to take a moment, send a shout out to Phoenix Fan Fusion and other cons, and tell people that if you're looking for ways to find people like you, it's a great way to go about it. So I suppose, Jason, I will ask you, what is it about Shawshank that you love so much?
So it was actually one of the first products or the first properties of Stephen King's that I encountered as a kid. Showing my age here a little bit. When Shawshank came out, I was 7.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I know.
I actually watched it at Don's old folks' home when I met him. So.
In the convalescent home with the tube TV.
Continue. I'm sorry.
But that's good. So it was one of the first things I remember watching as a kid. I was 7 or 8 or whatever it was when I first saw it. I saw it in theaters, so yeah, I would have been 7. And I remember seeing Stephen King on there. I heard of Stephen King. I didn't really know anything about him, really. Obviously, being 7. But I remember watching it going like, God, this is really good. I didn't understand the word compelling yet, but that was the 7-year-old version of compelling. I thought that was just marvelous stuff. And I have since come up now to be a very unapologetic King superfan. Like, I get made fun of for it, whatever, come at me. I love Stephen King stuff. I don't care. I like it. I love it. I always have. And this to me made me realize that movies could be deeper. This took me out of my, up to that point, I think my favorite movie was Labyrinth. So being able to shift from that into a movie like this, I went like, wow, this is just, even then I knew it was deep. I knew it was trying to say something to me about the human condition. Even at the time, I couldn't really put to words what that was. I didn't understand that concept. I wasn't even self-aware yet, but I understood that this was something that meant something, and it affected me. I really liked it, and I sought out more of it. And then it kind of led me into the movie fan and the horror fan that I am now. Inadvertently, it didn't, it wasn't direct, but it started me on that path. I'm very grateful for it.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. This is my favorite movie of all time. It's the movie I've probably seen the most times in my life. I believe it is as close to perfect as a movie can be. And I hadn't watched it in, I don't know, 6-7 years until we were doing this, and I rewatched it. And I was like, it's going to hold up because it's great, but I was prepared for some stuff to not work as well. And holy fucking shit, this movie is still damn near perfect. And I was absolutely amazed at how it's not just King's writing, right? It's not just the dialogue. It's not just the plot. It's not just the characterization. It's every single fucking aspect of this movie. I wish that they could make other movies as good as I feel this is.
Well, I'm sorry, real quick. I just wanted, so speaking of fan fusion, we actually had a panel this year talking about Stephen King adaptations, and Shawshank was the first one we talked about. Talking about like this being the like you said, the perfect adaptation. It's not just the writing, because the movie differs.
Oh yeah,
largely from the book.
Way more than I remembered, by the way.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. But the changes they made to make it a good movie were perfect. They were spot on. It was just marvelous. Just chef's kiss. No notes. Sorry, Don.
That was awesome. I love that. I don't have any complaint. The only thing I ever thought of with this film was, if you were, because I'm the king of thinking of, like, if you were to recast this,
oh man,
like, who would work? And this is one of those movies where, well, no. This is one of those movies where I don't think it works any better by changing anything about it, because Tim Robbins does a great job as far as, demonstrating the perceived decline of someone, right? Masking that I'm falling apart, I'm breaking apart, like this shit is really getting to me, when you've had a fucking plan the entire time. Even the reveal as far as the way it's captured on film, I don't think you could redo this, other than if you were going to make, I can't even say you'd make a better critique of the prison industrial complex because of what they demonstrate. Like this, the story, the film itself, I don't want to say we're well ahead of their time, because we were talking about prison reform well before this movie came out, as far as like what we should be doing with prisons. And then, of course, there was that push to privatize prisons in, well, I shouldn't even say in the late 80s, but because there was a push before then. Anyway, there's a lot to discuss in this film. There's a lot that gets represented, gets presented in this film as well. And I've found real difficulty in thinking of how you could redo this movie. Nothing, as far as I'm concerned, nothing needs to be changed. So I won't take the no notes thing away from Jason. I'm just saying it's the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think any attempt to remake this, the only way that I could see doing it, you would just have to like lean into a mini series and just admit, hey, this isn't going to be the same. Like we're gonna explore these side characters even more, or that kind of thing. I think that's the only place you could go with it, but it feels highly unnecessary, other than a studio owning IP and needing money.
Right.
Well, yeah, I agree. I don't think there would be anything to gain from it, and I honestly think fans would revolt. And I liken it to, if I can be so, but this is controversial, just putting it there before I say it, but it's a movie like Casablanca, of like, you tell people like, we're going to remake Casablanca, and the first thing you always ask is why. Like, what are you going to possibly gain from that? What could you possibly do better or different that would justify doing this? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And Casablanca is by no means a perfect movie, but it was perfect for its time, and it was perfect for what it was trying to do. And it, you just don't touch it. You know, even people talk about colorizing it, and that alone was just like what's wrong with you? Stop it. So
there was
it just
backlash when Ted Turner was doing that with TCM.
Yeah, exactly. But but Casablanca was what stopped that whole endeavor because people were just up in arms about it. You know, but and again, I liken this movie to Casablanca a lot too because it was like that. It was just a movie that was just released. It was just one of movies released. It wasn't meant to be this like hallmark pop culture moment. You know, Casablanca was just one of several movies released. They didn't think anything of it. You know, and Shawshank was the same way, but it's stuck with us. And I do think Shawshank's one of those ones 50 years from now, we're going to still keep watching it. You know, warts and all, as things get better and fidelity gets better, we're going to start seeing more of the grain in the film and all that. And we're not going to care at all. It's still going to be just as good. It'll never depreciate.
And Morgan Freeman will be there to host the movie marathon.
Probably. Guy's going to live forever. But I feel like, you have a show like Hannibal. That's the name of the TV show too, right? I never actually watched it. But like everyone that I talked to who loved the movies still loves the TV show because there was so much to add. There was just like so much characterization you could dive into, and everything was done well and faithfully. And like, I don't know people that love the movies that hate the TV shows. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm saying I don't personally know any. And if you could do something like that, awesome. But I don't see what you could gain with this doing that. So, but that would still be the only way I would be okay with it.
Well, and you can do that. You can take a inspiration from this and maybe tell your own type of story in a similar setting, deep diving into characters a little bit more, and just not use the basic plot. And it would still work. You know, it'd be interesting. I mean, look what they did with like Orange is the New Black. I'm not saying that's a perfect example, but like they did a good job of, they had a main character that really drove the main narrative, but the reason that show worked is because it had all those different side characters in a basically one prolonged bottle episode. It worked because of that. And you could do something similar, even the same time period. You can set it anywhere, really. It wouldn't really matter much. And you could do all that and it would work and people would embrace it. You just couldn't call it Shawshank and you couldn't have a character named Dufresne.
You'd have to have like Shawshank stories.
And maybe you could do that and get away with it and that people would embrace that. You just couldn't remake the story of Andy Dufresne again.
Exactly.
Because his story's already been told. There's nothing more you can do to make his story more interesting and more compelling. It already is. We already know what we need to know about Andy. It doesn't really.
Well, I was going to say, if they did redo it and it was a series, like you've already got Oz, where it was it was practically I shouldn't say practically the same scenario as what you're describing, where we're following kind of this main thread, this main storyline where the prison is a character, but you have the prisoners and their own individual stories that you're going to start hearing about and seeing. I think it could be done, and then I guess we can move on. But I think it could be done, and that opportunity would present itself to put Shawshank in like a modern day scenario or modern day situation, because you've either got to stick to the time period and keep it condensed, or because Andy's in prison for how many years before? 19 years before he bounces?
Right.
Yeah, 20ish, yeah.
So if you stick with a specific time period, I mean, you can get into a lot of background, a lot of stories, you can even involve, like, to compare those two, Oz and the Orange is the New Black, the idea of now you've got those who are in power as far as admin, you're getting their background, their stories, those the guards, what's taking place with them, because we really only meet two authority figures, and that's being the warden and Mr. Krabs.
Poor Clancy. I'm going to throw away my double feature right now because I think it's going to be overly obvious and there's no other double feature I could go with anyway, but I want to talk about the Green Mile for a minute.
God damn it, I was going to guess if that was it.
I mean, the Green Mile is probably my third favorite Stephen King movie. This and The Body. go back and forth as my number one. Like, I think this is the greatest film ever made. That doesn't make it my favorite movie of all time, even though I claim it is. But anyway, Stand By Me and Shawshank are always my top, but Green Mile is also sacred to me. And I think it's crazy how the thing I love about every one of these films is King's ability to create characters who are 100% real, whether they're in the movie for 5 fucking minutes. Like Tommy can rip me up, right? Brooks destroys me. Brooks destroys me on a fucking level that most characters in movies don't, no matter how many times I watch his fucking journey. From the moment he's feeding the little bird to Brooks was here, Brooks destroys me every fucking time. But I look at like Sam Rockwell's character in The Green Mile, right? Like Wild Bill is just fucking awesome, and he's great in the books. And all of these side characters, whether it's Percy the guard or Hadley, like Hadley's not even in it that much, and I feel like he is just this huge cloud over the movie the whole time with all this fucking power. And I know some of that's the screenwriters adding dialogue, but a lot of it starts with King in the books. And his ability to make me care about side characters is just phenomenal, like second to none, really.
Well, and that's one of the hallmarks of King in general. And the people ask me like, why do you like King so much? And the parts I like about him the most are usually the parts most people complain about the most. His world building of like a book like Salem's Lot, as an example. That entire book is literally just exploring all these side characters and like their crap, their personal crap. It's irrelevant to the main plot. It has nothing to do with anything, but it makes me care. It makes me care if this feels like a real, actual place that's being affected by all of this. And that's one of the things that he does really well. That's why his books are so damn long. If you were to take all that out and just focus on the story, it'd be like 250 pages and they'd be done. But that's not what he does. And it feels lived in, feels authentic. It's fantastic.
I think it's funny that it's the thing I love the most and the thing I hate the most, other than his inability to write an ending. But I couldn't resist. But like, when I'm watching movies, I love how it's condensed, right? Like, it's not me having to read all these pages to really feel what like Corey Feldman's character felt like in Stand By Me, right? I don't need 100 pages to understand it, because he's already done that work, and then somebody translated it into the page, and then an actor put it on screen. And when it gets there, that final product is what appeals to me. And it's how that is so well rounded because of all these parts that my attention span can't handle when I'm reading. So it's weird that it's my favorite and least favorite thing at the same time. But it's in how I consume it, I guess. But yeah.
Well, there's moods, depending on what you're looking for, depending on what you want.
Very true.
Just, for every time you're reading something deep and like Shawshank or the Green Mile or whatever, you also can read, Trucks, or you could read Battleground, which, in case anyone here, if you haven't read Stephen King's short story Battleground, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He literally, a guy just gets attacked by micro machines.
Yep.
It's phenomenal.
It's Nightmares and Dreamscapes, right?
That one's on Skeleton Crew, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
I totally thought Nightmares for some reason. Huh.
Nightmares is what Shawshank is in, but Battleground is on Skeleton Crew.
Hope springs eternal. All right. What do you guys got for this? Just dive in. Take me through, Jason. Do you want to go chronologically? Do you want to, however you want to do it? You lead the way.
Sure. So again, I was talking to a friend of mine. He actually only saw Shawshank like a month ago. He actually did it in preparation for that panel I mentioned. We were talking about Shawshank. He had never seen it.
Him? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, seriously, he's like almost 40 and he's never seen it until then. And
that would be like not seeing Jaws, Don. Ridiculous.
I'm not going to say a word. Still disappointed.
But it's one of those things where it's impressive to not have seen Shawshank at this point, simply because it's everywhere. I mean, they've been playing it on TV for 30 years.
Right.
You just can't get away
It's actually
from
probably
it.
another reason they can't redo it. Look at all the money they would lose that way. So
right. But listening to someone talk about it for the first time who saw it 30 years after the fact, and listening to him talk about it was it gave me some new perspectives, right? Because again, I've been seeing it
Okay.
since I was a kid, and I was basically raised with it. I saw it. I've seen it. No exaggeration. I've probably seen it over 100 times. And listening to him talk about he's talking about like the genius of Andy being a well-to-do person, but like a self-made well-to-do person. He's someone who was a higher up in social hierarchies or whatever you want to call it, simply because of his ability. Right? You have someone who's a VP of a banker, a young guy. He didn't get it there. He didn't get there by nepotism or anything. He just was that good. So it gave you instantly this believability and this credibility of this everyman, because Andy is at his core an everyman. He's just a really good everyman. And he was remarking how impressive that is to do from a storytelling point of view, because you've instant buy-in, right? You don't have to spend all this time of like, well, he knows this because he went to the thing with his uncle. Like, none of that. He's just really smart. He does numbers good. Okay, great. So you buy it. So you don't have to spend any energy with that. You could just yes and through everything about this, and it makes watching this movie not taxing, because none of it, you don't have to suspend disbelief for any of it. You just go, oh yeah, of course, naturally. It's absolutely beautiful, and I think that's the genius of Andy, as being an everyman who is just very clever, and that's really his only real character. Andy doesn't really have much of a character to him, other than just he's clever, and he's self-reflective and everything, but there's not a lot to him as a person really beyond that. And it's a good balance. I like it a lot.
There's a real strength in the writing that comes from the narrator not being Andy, but being close enough to Andy to know everything, but still being a complete outsider like us, so that we never know what Andy's thinking or feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah. The limited voice definitely helps the story.
It's such a masterful choice for who the narrator should be.
Yeah, because if it was told from Andy's point of view, I think this movie would be insufferable. I don't think we like Andy. I think we
10 minutes in, I've started digging into the wall.
Yeah, I don't think it would work as well. Yeah, so this is one of those places where the limited narrative definitely does help.
I put my rock hammer back in the Bible. Yeah, it just would not flow the same way at all. That's hilarious.
Well, and then we. Oh, go ahead, Don.
Oh, I was going to say that it's interesting. Even early on in the film, you get this understanding that society just forgets about people, right? And this can go all the way even to Brooks having to catch up from 50 years of what the world is like, or when Red gets out, him trying to catch up. But you see prison as a place that it's not about reforming the individual. It's not about penitence at all, despite the name of a penitentiary. It's about warehousing people and then keeping those warehouse people busy, as opposed to when you see how that one, I can't remember the Elvis, the one kid who comes in and he's like, oh, he's talking a big game. He's got a big mouth. He's doing all these things. And then Andy just kind of just fucking just destroys him by, this idea of like, don't you want more with your life? Don't you want to do something? And pursues like getting a degree and actually earns it, right? And just the idea that is something that's seen as like, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be helping. You shouldn't be doing, anything that's going to reform these people. Going back to when we start the movie with Red, where he's going in front of the parole board, and he's saying like, yeah, I'm over this. Like I regret my actions. I did this, and they immediately tell him, go the fuck back to your room. I mean, they don't tell him that, but they put the stamp to reject his parole. But you see how no matter what, those individuals, at least the time that they've served, even if it's their full sentence, you still have people being told like, no, you get to stay here. We're going to make the decision to leave you here, as opposed to letting the law carry itself out to where you were supposed to do your 10, your 20, your 30 years or whatever. Your time comes up and we let you out, as opposed to we still need these bodies. And you see that with the warden when he starts using the prison as a cash cow. We're going to keep you here so we can use your labor.
Don, I'm no history major, but would you say there's ever been a correlation between the supposed end of slavery and the beginning of prisons as they are today?
I believe that would be something around the 13th Amendment, but then also convict leasing. I mean, there's a long history of this. Here's the thing. This is the only thing I would change about this. You would put it in the South. That way you have more showing of like the convict labor, the convict leasing, things like that. But yeah, that was a very popular thing after the passage of the 13th Amendment. You had states, especially in the South, that were passing vagrancy laws, and those vagrancy laws are black codes and things like that. They were just set up to keep people bound to the state. And if you had these people arrested, a lot of times it was really the sheriff's call as far as where they went. But you would have people who are arrested and their labor would be leased out to, sugar plantations and rice and cotton, and they would be leased out that way. In fact, one of the prisons that took the most advantage of this was Angola in Louisiana. And Angola was the prison is built on the site of a former slave plantation. And it's named Angola because the majority of the enslaved people, the majority of the Africans who arrived and were enslaved, were from Angola. But Angola, like, they have just over the years since their inception, had just exploited prisoners, exploited prison labor, for cotton being one thing. I met a gentleman a few years ago, just passed recently, Albert Woodfox. He was in solitary confinement for 27 years of his sentence, wrongfully convicted. And thanks to groups like 27 years. Yeah. But he explained it to me. He explained it to me that solitary at Angola was not what you think it is. It was simply you were in a cell by yourself. You weren't let out, but you could see across from you and talk to other prisoners. You just were not let out of the cell. So, I mean, you couldn't see anything on your sides, but you could see the person on the other side in their cell, but you couldn't see anybody to the left or to the right. So your interaction was really just with that other prisoner, that other inmate that you could see and you might be able to communicate with, and whatever guard is bringing you stuff, and maybe the doctor. But he said for off and on for 27 years out of his full sentence, he was in solitary confinement for the majority of it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And he specifically talked about how he was at Angola and they often would just, it wasn't a thing of like volunteering for a detail, because a lot of these prison movies make it seem like, oh, we have a volunteer, we have trustees, you guys will have, time taken off your sentence. That shit doesn't happen. Like, because it was simply for them, it's like, hey, we need you to help. We need 5 people out here to do X. And if they don't have 5 people, they're just going to grab 5 people. And there was no, at least for that situation, there was no bargaining and there was no negotiation to have a lighter sentence or reduction on your sentence because you helped the guards with something.
Jesus.
Well, and so maybe with that, then maybe, with this being set not in the South in this, in this time period, because you're talking, this is just post-war, up through the 60s kind of thing. So maybe by taking it
still
out,
going on.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm saying, but by taking it out of that Southern context, because Shawshank's pretty damn Southern for a movie to set in New England.
That's what threw me off. Like this. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh, they're good. Yeah. But it has that feel, right? So you have that same thing, and because rural Maine is still rural as hell. And, there's a lot of similarities with the South, but I think by not putting it, I think if you put it in the South, it would become more about the larger issue of the prison industrial complex of the way the South does things and still does to this day, versus just making it more of a personal issue. Because like they make it pretty clear that with Shawshank, like, yeah, you're in prison, it kind of sucks, but if you keep to yourself and you're not involved in the plot, with a capital P, it's not too bad. You go about your life, the food sucks, whatever, but like, you're just kind of going about your day. Like, yeah, the warden's an asshole and Mr. Krabs is mean and beats people up, but it's not the overall issue of the prison itself. It's just where you happen to be. And if you put it in the South, it would become more about the the system. It'd be a story like more like Oz, where it's more about the system than the individual's trial. So it's interesting, because Shawshank is definitely the most southern New England movie I've ever seen. It's southern as hell.
It also kind of gives that feeling of, if this was happening in the North, what the fuck was happening in the South, you know?
Right. Yeah, what's going on in Alabama? That'd be pretty...
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned Alabama. The Birmingham, the Birmingham coal and steel industry used a shit ton of convict labor. And so they would have inmate laborers that would go into things like the coal mines and do that work, or looking for iron ore, working in the blast furnaces, things like that. And sadly, because when they died, they were just kind of like disposed of. It was never a thing of like, oh shit, we had an accident with prisoners. It was like, oh, there was an explosion, or there was a cave in, and like we lost 20 prisoners, and that just becomes the thing of like letting the family know, yeah, he was working a job and he's dead now. Enjoy. Here are his remains.
But that's part of that though too, because we have that, we struggle with that even again now with prisoners. When people get convicted, like, oh well, they're adjudicated, so they're no longer people. They're just
right.
It's a number.
And that's the great way. And I mean, I don't mean this in a positive way, but that's the great way in which the con or the system works. It's, if this person has been convicted in the court of law, that automatically means we should dehumanize them. We don't know. I mean, with that running joke that they all have about, like, I had a bad lawyer. Like, I didn't do shit. I had a bad lawyer. Right. But that realization, that realization that hits when, young Elvis says, oh yeah, I was at this other prison. This guy admitted that he killed this tennis guy and this woman he was with. And the realization that Morgan Freeman's reaction gives the audience, which is, holy shit, one of us isn't lying. One of us isn't making this up. Because even they were so stuck on, well, if you're here, you did something. If you're here, it's obvious that you got caught and you're just as bad as everybody else here. Or you're worse than everybody else here, because if I truly believe I didn't do the crime, or if I know I did the crime, I'm either one, I'm the only innocent person and you're all guilty, or if I got caught and I got, charged and had the jury render a decision to determine my guilt, then, oh shit, well, I did mine. You fucking did it too. Of course, you just got caught. So there's never this moment where even the prisoners, except for with Andy as the catalyst, there's never this moment where you get to see the prisoners as human beings until he gets there. Right, because when you see Red there at the parole hearing, you're kind of like, okay, it's a guy trying to get out of prison. You don't see him as a person. And even those people, when they're bringing everyone in within that first one, everyone runs out. I'm sorry, when they bring in new characters, the new prisoners, everyone runs out, and all you get is, holy shit, these guys are betting on who's gonna, who's not gonna make it. Like, how fucked up is that? Like, that's what you start thinking on the outside, but on the inside, that's how they handle the system. That's how they handle the stress. That's how they handle the lack of humanity that they've been given, or that has been cast on them. So now it's an issue of refining humanity within that place that's dehumanized you to a point where you don't even look at other people as worthy of humane treatment.
That's what I love about that scene. It's the dehumanizing others even more. And then, you follow through all the delousing and the you shit when we say you shit and whatever else that Stanley from Promising Young Woman says. And what? I thought that's the game we're playing. But yeah, so anyway, like it's all just overly dehumanizing. And even the way that I totally lost his name. I knew his name a minute ago. But the guy that gets Fat Ass to cry. And he's like, when he's just sitting there just egging him on, and then, obviously feels guilty as fuck when Fat Ass dies, right? But like, you still have to move on from it. It's fuck his name. Like he's dead now, so whatever. And it's that constant dehumanizing, even amongst yourselves, let alone the people above you dehumanizing all of you. I don't know. It's very deeply ingrained and very fascinating to me.
Well, again, we still do this now because in prison, they're referred to as convict, and they call each other convict because that's all they are. At least the way we conduct things. It's, like you said, they're being warehoused. So you're here because you can't fit in anywhere else. So you're not a person. You are convict. 7385 or whatever. And that's where the horror of this comes in. Because I had someone tell me like, that's not horror. Like the hell, it's not. Like this is probably the most horrific thing you're ever going to see. Yeah, it's this is just because there's no monsters or ghosts doesn't mean it's any less horrific. Like
I would argue that Hadley's scarier than Jason or Freddy to me. Like,
because Hadley exists. We know he exists. There's probably at least a dozen Hadleys in our prisons right now.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
They've just gotten better.
There was a program not too long ago. I think it was Innocence Project, or like their documentary series, or maybe it was Murder in Boston. But the police officer that was part of this with the investigation, but part of the documentary, he proudly said to any of the neighbors on his beat, or the residents on his beat, that it's like, oh, you don't have to worry about a judge or an attorney or anything. I'm the only person who takes your freedom away. And just thinking about the way that system works, where you give the authority to someone, in a lot of cases with very little training, to apprehend people and take their freedom away on the suspicion of doing something. Now, I'm not talking about caught in the act of doing it, just on the suspicion of doing something, that you can have your freedom taken away to the point where I've now arrested you for a crime. The strike has already hit. So now the judge and the jury, are they going to agree with me? Or is the DA going to agree with me for the most part? But are they going to agree with me that you should not have freedom because I suspected you of doing something? Because even if that freedom is taken away for a few hours, your freedom is taken away for a few hours. It's taken away whether we're talking about one night in jail, a weekend, or you get sent to prison. They have started the process to take away your freedom. And it sucks that we give somebody that option or that opportunity, a lot of times unilaterally. But in prison, like you said, Jason, it's pretty much the same as far as you have individuals that are in those prisons. I know of a few where you have individuals who love throwing their authority around because the state has given them the power to do so.
Yep.
And those are not the people that we need in prison, because what ends up happening is you end up having people. Now, well, anyway, I'll go straight to it.
I mean, we do need him in prison, but it's got to be like the end of Shawshank when Gus Gilbert from Pet Sematary 2 breaks down crying like a little girl, knowing that all the power that he's exerted this whole time is fucking gone and he's about to pay. So that's how we need them in prisons.
Well, and the thing is, individuals like that, they reveal, they need to be in prison in that sense. But individuals like that really reveal who they are. Like if you are so power hungry, like I'm gonna get off on taking somebody's freedom away. That's something that you wanted for the longest time. It's just that now you have the opportunity to do it. Oh, I want to beat the hell out of people, but I want to beat the hell out of people legally. I'll become, I'll join this force or sheriff or whatever, because the public puts a good amount of trust into that uniform, into the badge. To where if I'm a cop and I'm beating the shit out of you and you're passing by on the street, I'm sorry, not you. If I'm beating the shit out of somebody on the street and you pass by, you're going to assume, oh, that person must have done something to deserve that. And we saw that with numerous police interactions that have been encountered, as well as county jail footage and prison, security camera footage where prisoners, inmates, regular citizens are getting, not to say they're not regular citizens, folks not in prison or in jail out on the street just getting the shit kicked out of them by police. And the response that the general public has is, well, what the hell did they do? They had to have done something to earn this ass kicking. And a lot of times it's not. It's simply, I have the power to do it, so I'm going to do it. Just like since I'm the oldest in the family, when we were left at home by ourselves, which was a very common thing, I was in charge. Whatever I said was the rule. It didn't matter how arbitrary it was. It didn't matter how draconian it was. Whatever I said was the law. And when folks, when my folks would get home, that question like, oh, well, what happened? Nothing. Everything happened. Well, he did this. I was like, well, he or she was not listening to me. So I turned the TV off. It doesn't matter. I'm the one who was in the position of authority. I'm the one who's right.
Well, and a lot of this, and like James, you were saying, because like this modern imprisonment model that we have now, which is incongruent with literally the rest of the entire civilized world.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this conversation with many people, because I have, as I mentioned before in our previous episodes here in the podcast, I was a social worker for many years, and a lot of my times my job was, I worked in group homes. My job was to rehabilitate people and get them to be able to live back on their own. That was my job. And people, specifically people with mental illness. And this model that we have, and you compare it to how they do things in Scandinavian countries like Finland or Sweden, that actually has a rehabilitation model with their prison systems, where they actually build up and humanize their prisoners and get them back to a pro-society stance. It could not be more different than how we do things. And their recidivism rate is down to like 4% or some, I can't remember the exact number, but somewhere in that ballpark. It's really, really low, and they're closing prisons left, right, and center because they don't need them. It's just not necessary. Right. So like our obsession with this of not being willing to embrace the self-reflection needed to fix our social problems and just, again, warehouse them, and like, that's too hard. That sounds like a lot of work. We're just going to put them in this box and forget about them because they did bad things. So they don't get to play nice. Versus countries like, again, like I pick on Scandinavia a lot because they're very pro-social. That's their whole thing. So they really push that, and that stomping out the isolation and stomping out the differentness, where it's like, no, you are a part of this. You're a part of the greater whole. We're going to get you to see that because we need you to participate. You need to participate in this. And then we have this still too with us. Even when you get out of prison now, you're still treated badly. You're a felon. If you've been convicted of a crime, you can't have a job. You can't get into certain housings. You're not qualified for government assistance programs. You
can run for president.
Yeah, you can run for
Somebody
president.
had to do it.
Now that's not a dig on him. Eugene Debs ran for president from prison as well in the first, I think, 1912 or 1916 election.
Okay.
But he ran from prison.
Yeah, but also you have these things of, your average person doesn't have the resources to be able to overcome those problems.
Yep.
Like even in my case, my day job, I work in the financial sector. If I were to even just be arrested and then released, that'd be enough for me to probably lose my job.
Yeah.
Probably. And if I lost my job because of that, getting a job back in that same sector would be very difficult, because the question of why'd you lose your last job? Oh, because I got arrested. That's it, boys and girls. There's nothing more to be said about it. So, and I'd be fighting that for the rest of my life, even if it was a false arrest.
Mm-hmm. So much of that, especially in financial circles, it's because, if you have this thing, you're more susceptible to being bribed or to wanting to steal because you might owe something over here. And I know I'm taking a shot at Trump like I do every fucking week, but I cannot imagine not applying that same thought, if we're going to do it at this level, to national fucking security. Like, that's what blows my mind. But also, like, I think that there should be lines with this as well, like the type of felony and the circumstances. It shouldn't just be clear, straight cut, you were arrested, like you're talking about, Jason. Like, that's just immediately gone. Like, there should be follow-up, and people should put effort into this shit, and they just don't.
Yeah.
Well, and a path back so this is a pet thing of mine that I really get really feisty about. But again, like you have people who get out of prison for whatever reason, doesn't matter what it is, but if you're adjudicated with a felony, you can't vote anymore.
Yeah.
So you have these people, you're like, okay, I think certain states do have like automatic clemency rules in place where after a certain period of time your rights are restored, which is great, but that's the minority. So these people, it's like, you did your time, you've been penitent, even if you were or not, doesn't matter. But now you have to get back in society, but you can't participate in that society. It's like, well, that's just, and the Shawshank kind of talks about that too. You talk about with Brooks and those guys of like,
yeah,
you get out, and even today you get kicked out with an ATM card with about $50. They put you in a cheap motel, usually for a couple days if you're lucky, and then you're on your own if you couldn't get into a halfway house or something. So you're kind of screwed. Then you're a vagrant, and you spend your first $20 they give you in your first meal, because of course you do, and then now all of a sudden you're broke, you're homeless, you have no job prospects, your family's probably deserted you, you're on your own. What the hell else are you gonna do except turn back to more crime? We're literally turning you into a monster because we can't face our own problems of like, hey, maybe we should take care of people, because that's communism. God forbid we take care of each other. It's indicative of this same concept. We haven't gotten any better. We've actually gotten worse about it. And it's one of our largest social failings. And it's the same place that makes us fail with like our universal health care, our lack of willingness to just do it. We could. We have the money to. There's nothing stopping us. It's just our unwillingness to help people who can't help us.
Okay, but hear me out. We could have a plane that would hold like 47 nuclear weapons at once instead.
That's true. We could. Yeah, that's important.
So, I mean,
equally important, but maybe we should also just take care of people.
That hurt me so much to say.
So thank God you weren't being sarcastic.
Yeah, like the reality of it pisses me off way more, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's all that same stuff. And I have to believe at some point the dam is going to break. This mentality that's been carrying us, forgive me, kind of since the Reagan days, of this like, I'm this person, they're that person, and therefore we're separate. I'm not saying Reagan is to blame for that, but that's really where that kind of.
I'll say it.
All right, I'm not qualified to say that, but that's kind of where it started. That's where that real divisive, like, I'm red, you're blue, fuck you kind of stuff started really going. And I have to believe at some point that's all going to collapse on itself like a neutron star, and we might be able to reconcile this belief system we have. It has to. And if we do, we will come out of it better ultimately. I mean, we have what? How many? I'm sure, Don, you probably actually know. We have what, 3 million people in this country in prison or something?
1.8, something like that.
Okay, that's still way too fucking many.
I thought it would be.
I'm sorry, about 1.8 in private prisons. Prisons.
Yeah, that makes sense. Most of them are private these days, so that makes up the bulk of them then. But that's still way too damn many. I mean, that's a significant chunk of the population in prison, and most of it is for nonviolent drug offenses.
Yep.
Like, so again, you get this situation again. Shawshank, I think the reason why it's timeless is because it's just as relevant in the 1947 or 1955, whatever years they cover, as it is now. And again, we haven't gotten better. Our prisons are not reformative at all. They're at best you just get stuck in a hole and wait out your sentence. That's the best you could hope for. And then these days with our gang culture and stuff so prevalent in prisons as well, it just breeds more issues, and it's just awful. And I think that's why we still like Shawshank, because it's personal. We can relate to it, whether we relate to ourselves personally, or just like with Brooks. I'm not an old man, but I can certainly recognize the getting left behind. I can recognize, those old people, even people who aren't in prison, are like, the world kind of left me behind at some point. I don't even know when it even happened.
Dude, I walk around at Comic-Con and look at cosplays, and I feel like I was left behind. Like, I don't know what anything is anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that you can relate to all those things, and the social props that it talks about are still every bit as relevant today as they were then. Again, probably more relevant. I mean, hell, they're more relevant even when the movie got made in 1994. Like it just at the 30 years, it's just gotten worse, and it just really makes me kind of sad and depressed now thinking about it too much.
You talk about Brooks, and I already said like he's the character that rips me up every time, and that is a lot of it. It's that feeling of I don't understand the world and no one is here to help me, right? And like that fear of being old and not knowing how to do it. But here's the kicker I realized as you were speaking just now, Jason. It's Red is actually maybe worse because Red comes across the entire movie as a guy who knows what the fuck he's doing, who seems up to date on shit, who knows how to get things. He's been known to grab an item anyway. But like he seems competent. He doesn't just look like a feeble old man who's past his prime. Even when he's older, he doesn't look like Brooks, right? But he goes through exactly what Brooks goes through. And he makes a different decision. That's the only difference. He fully admits he cannot make it on the outside. And that is fucking terrifying to me because that is time coming for everyone. It doesn't matter what skills you had. It doesn't matter how good you were where you were. At some point, some facet of life, this happens to all of us. And holy fuck, that's terrifying. But I was also thinking about the institutionalism the other way around. Like you could be Andy Dufresne and you were a banker and you knew this shit and you were on top of the world and you thought you had a good marriage until shit went really sour and you had all this stuff. And then it's the same story, but the other way around. When you're going into prison, you don't know everything anymore. And there are very different rules and nothing that you did before this matters. And so that institutionalism the other way as well is also fascinating to me. I don't want to talk about it for 25 minutes or anything, but I'm just saying like, as you were speaking about it, like all of that was just pouring into me. And I was like, it's amazing how it affects every character and then how their choices determine kind of who they are the rest of the film.
Well, you mentioned, you mentioned Brooks, and I got to tell you, James, the same thing happened. Well, I shouldn't say the same thing happened to me, but it wasn't until this last rewatch that Brooks, at least his part of the story, his ending, like I felt something this time. Whereas before I was kind of like, I get it. You're there.
Oh, but man. That's so different for me. Brooks has like made me cry for 30 years.
I was going to say, it's probably been maybe 5 to 10 years since I've watched the movie in full. Even though I'm prepared for Brooks, just seeing the way he interacts, getting a little bit better, maybe just as far as the life experience and interactions I've had, definitely changed that because you have to think about not just the fact that, like you brought up, Jason, the idea that you're just dumped out, like here, goodbye, enjoy your life. Nothing has been set up for you to have to be quote unquote a productive member of society. And somebody like Brooks, you're releasing them like in their much later years. So there are no opportunities for him. Like the only option is to leave. And with Red's character, I think if he hadn't had that thing to do, which was delivering that box to Andy, because Andy knew, like, if he doesn't have anything, he's going to fucking die. He's going to kill himself like Brooks. But the idea that your job is to bring me this thing, because he tells him, like, hey, there's this, I went here when I did this and I left this for you. I need you to go get it for me when you get out. Just the full understanding of Andy has made peace with what he's about to do, but he understands enough to know I need to leave something behind for this guy to do, or else he's going to be lost as well.
Well, yeah, that's actually what I was going to say, because I don't think Red. Yeah, I don't think Red would ever have survived or would have done anything without that last conversation that Andy had with him, and even all the rest of the talks Andy had about like not losing hope, and like when he talks about music and stuff, of like Andy never let go of who he was as a person, even in 19 years. The rest of them did.
Yeah.
They just gave in. He didn't. He never did. That's why he stood out so much, because Andy knew who he was. He had that certainty of innocence about him. Like, yeah, he's in a situation, he's in prison, so I'm gonna live with that. But he never gave up being Andy. He was never
even his fucking walking. Like Red brought up, like the way he walks around the yard. Like, God damn, like the one thing I enjoy about movies like this is it's the details. It's the small little details that you go back to because you think they don't mean anything. And then you realize, well, one, after you finish watching the film, but also in having a conversation with somebody else, there were so many things that were just breadcrumbs that you could go back to.
Well, and that's where, like you said, having this little personal drama, those little things of like where this as a film exceeds where it couldn't as a book, because you can't really convey the subtlety of that difference, like in the way he walks, the way he wears his clothes, the fact that he always kept his top button buttoned, where the rest of them were always, their collars were always open. Like that kind of stuff, you wouldn't put that in a book because it would seem too much like calling attention to it. You're like, oh, what's the relevance of that? But in a film, you can convey that more subtly, and most people probably would subconsciously, they may pick it up on it, but they're not going to like consciously make that connection or that look at it. But yeah, it makes a difference because again, Andy never lost. He never became convict Andy. He was always Mr. Dufresne, who just happens to be in jail for a while. And that's a big difference. And he was able to give that to Red. I think he's able to give that to a lot of them. I think that's why he played the music for them. He got himself busted for no reason other than the fact that he thought it would be a good thing to do for them.
Yeah, it was the same thing with the beer. Because he even, I mean, one, when he gets the, I guess I don't want to say because he's not scamming him, but he understands like how he can use his knowledge to his benefit. But when he has that argument, I'm sorry, when he has that persuasive moment with Hadley, where he's telling
you mean
hey,
Sergeant Zim from Starship Troopers?
God damn you. Well, that's pretty much who he turned into at that moment. But when he's telling like, do you trust your wife? And you're thinking like, oh, fuck, where is this going? Like he's trying to piss him off. But then you realize he's using that as an end to get that emotional reaction from this guy so he can needle him and play with him a little bit. It's like, oh, all I ask is 3 beers. And he's not drinking the beer. But the rationale that he gives for getting these guys the beer is, hey, we're doing man's work. I think we'd feel more like men if we had some suds. Just buying into what these guys wanted. I'm sorry, not buying into it. Understanding what these guys wanted and what they needed. And what they needed was a return of their humanity.
And a return of hope. Like, I mean, Red straight says that hope is dangerous. So that's why I agree with you guys completely that Red would have hung himself or whatever as well. But he needed this little piece of hope and he doesn't even know he has it. Right. But I mean, that's obviously the major theme of the whole thing. The story is literally called Hope Springs Eternal. But that's exactly what he's doing. And I love that so much. And it's always about others and not him. Like, I mean, he loves the music as well, but like the beer, he just sits there and watches them. And I can relate to that so hard because my favorite thing is like making experiences for others. And it's so fucking cool to watch it, So, yeah.
I'd argue that's why we do panels.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I don't get anything directly out of doing panels. I don't get crap out of it except the pleasure of watching people when you're done, they walk up to you and they do like the, hey, thanks. That was, whatever the feedback is, it's always at least one person who comes up and thanks you for what you've done for them.
Oh yeah.
Like that's, again, it's for the culture, right? It's what you do. And that's what Andy was able to do because he had that in him to do it. And that's just who he was. And it's beautiful. And that's what makes it makes him such a good character. He wasn't a tragic character. His story was tragic, but he never was. Right. And that's a rare kind of strength to see. Most stories don't bother with that kind of story about strength because it's subtle. It's not very obvious. And in a less interesting movie, it would come off as boring, right? Like it's like reading a Jane Austen book. You're like, yeah, I get it, but could you throw a pie every once in a while to keep me interested? But it worked really well as a character, and that's why I think we like Andy so damn much because he he was strong in ways that most people can only dream of, and it's nice to see.
Well, even when he stood up to the warden, when the warden comes down and he's been in the hole for what, like a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells the warden, I'm fucking done with everything. It all stops. And the warden has his little, the fuck you are moment, right? Like,
yeah, you're done when we say I'm done.
Man, he didn't need to say it there. He could have waited till he was out. He could have, like, he could have eased into it. No, man, this guy is like, oh, you think you took everything from me? Guess what, fucker? Like, that is such a moment of, you can't take my hope from me. You can't take what makes me from me. And like, the balls on Andy Dufresne to say it right then, when he knows that Montgomery Dark from the Mortuary Collection is standing right there ready to kick his ass as well. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, I've seen this 100 fucking times, and this moment resonated with me this time, of just the absolute courage it had to take to lay there on the floor in the hole and stand up to the fucking warden right then.
Especially a guy just killed someone to cover up their corruption. Like, and Andy knows that. He knows that at any moment, any of those people could and would kill him. He knows this. He doesn't care. He's like, yeah, you can kill me, but that's all you can do. Like, sucks to be you. That's all you can manage.
Yeah,
physical harm. Yeah. But it's that, because he embodies that, like, like you can't brave the storm. He's the guy that does the I am the storm. He's the epitome of an immovable object.
He's literally got every guard coming up to him like, hey, the kid passed C+ average, and this guard's over here with your books, and you did an amazing fucking thing. And like, his power is more than the warden's, and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what makes him such a good character, and that's again why we like him. And he's flawed in the right ways. He's flawed in a very human way. He's a little cold. He's a little detached. Quite frankly, he's probably on the spectrum. And and he reflects that. He tells Red, he's like, I was a bad husband. I didn't know how to express what I actually felt. I was, he's kind of lives in a world all of his own, and he struggles with that. He struggles to make connections, but in a place like Shawshank, where he has so much more than most of those in it, he thrived, and he probably would have kept thriving. He probably wouldn't have, necessarily broken out. He could have, but he may not have if, the kid hadn't died.
He would have felt pretty stupid if he was in the hole and they found his hole in the wall that he was digging out. We moved you cells while you were gone. Well, fuck.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is a little bit of the convenience factor with this, because, like, obviously they actually do move cells. They don't stay in the same ones for years. I actually made that comment too, like yesterday, is like, even with all the warden stuff, like, people don't stay in, like, wardens don't stay in positions in the same place for 30 years. Like,
well, in the book, Hadley and the warden both switch out repeatedly.
Yeah, they do. So, like, I get why from a movie you don't do that, and it makes sense in the movie to keep these ever-present antagonists. So again, I guess that's the only real suspension of disbelief we have to have. So sorry, guys, anyone even listening who isn't aware of the dynamics of prison bureaucracy, you get moved around a lot. You don't stick in one place for very long, and they mostly do it to avoid that very situation. They don't want too much complacency, because complacency in prisons is bad.
Yep.
So they move you on purpose to keep you sharp and keep you on your toes.
What a different film this would be if Andy didn't get the cell at the end, huh?
Yeah, if he was in the middle. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that made this whole thing work. But again, that really wasn't even the point of it, though, either. Like, it's kind of like they mentioned the Count of Monte Cristo. Like, the point of that, there's a prison break in that book. But that's not the point of that book.
No.
The prison escape was just necessary to further the plot, just like Shawshank. Him escaping prison, even though that's the part they really focus on, that wasn't really the point of the story. It was just necessary for the story to conclude. He had to get out.
Yeah.
They could have easily done the same thing with him just getting paroled. Would have done, or getting found innocent accidentally, or whatever the case might be. Whatever, getting him out of prison some way would have satisfied the story in any event. It's just more dramatic to have him escape.
And how great is it still to this day when those sirens kick on and the warden realizes
I'm fucked.
That moment is so glorious, and we could go the other route like you were just talking about, but this ending is light years above every movie I've ever seen. And I make fun of King's endings all the time, but man, this is my favorite ending in any movie. And the glory of Andy's long-term plan and how he set everything up from mailing the ledger to draining the banks and walking away, like everything about it feels so fucking good. I mean, I wish I could write anything remotely on the level of the ending of this fucking film, man.
So I did the math yesterday because I was curious. So the money that Andy was able to get in today's spending power, the equivalent of $3.6 million.
Man.
So yeah, he did all right. And I will say again, like even Stephen King's story, it actually ends with Red getting on the bus and hoping he runs into Andy, and that's it. That it's just he hopes.
I love that.
It ends. The last word is "I hope," like the narration does. Now the movie, they added the little boat scene on the beach and stuff, but that was added afterwards because of test audiences. Because the movie originally ended the way the book does, where it's just Red in the bus going down the road saying "I hope," and it faded to black, and that was it. But movie audiences had to know that they both succeeded. They had to know that, so they went back and filmed that after the fact, and attached it to the end.
What's so weird with that? Oh, go ahead, Don. Go.
I was going to say, in my head, as far as the way I envision what's canon for me is that's Red's imagination of what's going to happen. Like it's him envisioning their encounter.
I like that.
Yeah, it could be.
I was just going to say, like, I love both. When you give me the book version, it ends perfectly because, like I said, the whole point of this story is hope. And Red literally had none. And Andy found a way to plant hope, and it's starting to sprout. And that is so fucking beautiful. And then, I mean, I love the final shot so much. It was like my background on my computer for like 2 years. So yeah, I love both, but man, I really like it just being Red's idea of what would happen. That's kind of glorious.
Yeah, like you said though, it doesn't really matter which one is true because he's still okay.
Yeah,
like even if it, and Zihuatanejo was a real place, and it's not a very big place. I can't imagine it was any bigger in the 70s. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure he found him if he was in fact there, but it doesn't matter because Red's fine. Like he'll be fine. He's good, and that's. It's beautiful, and I get why the closing shot was added, especially look at that just bright ass blue ocean because there's been no blue, there's been no bright color anywhere in this movie, and all of a sudden now you end with this just glorious white sand beach, this blue ass ocean. Like that's good filmmaking, and it would have worked either way. They both work. It's both fine, but yeah, it's absolutely marvelous. And speaking of all those like movie outtakes, I think we would do a disservice if we didn't mention one of the more significant changes made to the adaptation. And we're not breaking new ground here, but casting Morgan Freeman as that character.
Oh yeah.
Versus his counterpart, because in the book, he basically was my grandfather. He was this just rough, redheaded Irish jerk, basically. But from a filmmaking standpoint, I imagine casting that at that time, your only real option would have been like what, Robert Redford? Like who could have done that besides him in 94?
Paul Newman. That age, probably Paul Newman.
Probably, yeah. But like that's about your two only real options, right? But that would have come off as almost like stunt casting.
Yeah.
Even in 94. Because like Robert Redford was largely on his way out. He was doing like romantic dramas at the time,
oh god, the one with Michelle Pfeiffer.
yeah up close and personal, I think it was called. So like that's what he was doing at the time, so I think that would have come off as I don't know, I just don't think it would have worked. Now that being said, real quick, I'll plug another movie. Robert Redford did do a prison movie not too long afterwards, The Last Castle, which was, he did a really good job in that, and he could have played Red, but he was a little too old to have pulled it off. And I don't know that we had anyone. I mean, we have had to been like what, Jackie Earle Haley, maybe, like but I don't think he was well known enough at the time to have been cast in that. So your options would have been limited. You probably would have to go with someone that wasn't really well known, and Morgan Freeman wasn't super well known then, but he was not too far off of Guillory at that time. So like it was good casting, even though it completely
so good.
It didn't change the character as much as just his his physical presentation. I love the little joke they put in there too.
They kept him as Irish.
Yeah, he's
Irish.
Yeah, those all those notable Black Irish that live in Doolin, in case you guys are curious. But that was a good choice.
Oh no, I almost forgot. As far as you talk about choices and you talk about color and things like that.
Yeah.
When you start talking about taking you out of it, like as soon as every time it gets to that ending, it takes me out of it. Not because it's such a bright color. I'm like, that's not what the water looks like.
No, it's not.
On the Pacific side of Mexico, that's the Caribbean. And I finally went and looked. I was like, sorry, where exactly did it film? They filmed in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yes, they did.
So not even like in that deep part to where it'd be close to Mexico in the Caribbean. It was like, let's just use some shit we can get a tax break for.
Yeah, and no one needs a passport to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. And I made that comment to someone who saw that. I'm like, oh, I'd love to see that ocean. It's like the Pacific Ocean, especially in that part, is choppy, it's dark, and it's usually overcast. Like, it's kind of crappy.
Imagine if they'd shown that. What a weird way to end the movie that would be.
It is the same color palette as the prison.
Like, damn it.
Red shows up, is like, Andy, what the fuck is this?
Why is it so damn?
So, Don, I have a pitch for you. If you get to make your miniseries redoing this, I feel like Red should be played by Michael Rappaport. What do you think? Narrating the whole thing.
I swear to God, you know what? You were a good distance away from me. The
first time I saw this motherfucker, Andy Dufresne, all I could think...
If there's one celebrity I want to beat the shit out of, it's Michael Rappaport.
Oh, I had no idea. You think that
Bill Maher's
a purposeful
Bill Maher's, yeah, I know. Bill Maher's a close second. I can't stand either one of those pieces of shit.
Okay, I got it. Dash Myhawk. There's a deep cut casting for you. I'm sure Dash isn't busy.
Well, I was going to say, if you are going to recast it, James,
I'm casting Tilda Swinton as everyone, and Bong Joon-ho is directing.
God damn you! Well, I guess I can't cast Eddie Murphy as everybody in this movie. That was so 20-something years ago. Anyway, I think it would be really this would be like a cool way to. I mean, this is the way Fox entertain, and this is nothing against Fox Entertainment. It's just in their wheelhouse. This is the way Fox Entertainment would handle it. They would do it as a Prison Break style show. They're both out. They're not old men. They're young guys that happen to break out of prison. And, then the whole show is them running from the authorities in different countries. That becomes your show. That's how
are you gonna pitch to Fox? Is that what you're saying?
Hell no. I would never pitch that story. I'm just saying that's the way it would work. You might watch. I mean, their show Prison Break was pretty entertaining. I watched some of it.
It ran for 3 seasons too long.
I would like to see this, but with Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani as the main characters, and they're trying to get away. No? Okay.
You said you want to adapt this. That would be more of a documentary or a reality television, sir.
Now that is a reality show. I'm not a big fan of reality television.
I would watch that.
You get them in jail. I'd watch the hell out of that. I would pay like a pay-per-view
and then
to watch.
Treat it like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And one person is chained between the two and stuck with them the whole time.
God damn it. It's like somebody on a non-violent drug charge. Or no, jaywalking.
Oh my.
They got a bench warrant because they didn't show up to pay for the ticket and everything, and now it's I don't know, it's like a weird Weekend at Bernie's / Prison Break / Orange is the New Black.
Worst show pitch ever.
If you did that, the middle guy would be self-aware. He have to have like meta awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
And just that I'd watch that. That'd be a good like hour and 20 minute like movie of the week.
Every time the police start getting close, he's like, "Help! I'm moving! Shut up, you! We're trying to get away." It would be like the Three Stooges. You got that one straight, and then the two Stooges.
And his curse is that he worked as a fact checker for 15 years, so he knows stuff.
He's a former ethicist.
Rudy, I need to take a shit. Rudy, can you grab some of those leaves? I need to take a shit.
Do either of you have anything about this film?
Sir, that's Poison Oak. I would not recommend it. Poison Oak, that's what the liberals want you to believe. Okay. I wipe my ass with these things all the time.
That wouldn't surprise me.
It's probably orange.
So do either of you have anything left on this film before we move on to movie recs?
We could, but I'm good. I've said my game today.
I just want to add, I fucking love Clancy Brown, and I know I've made fun of the other names throughout this, but goddamn, that dude can be in anything, and I will fucking watch it, man. And
look what he did in John Wick 4. I mean, it was such a nothing role, but he made it so compelling. Oh, so good.
All right, I'm gonna have to go watch it later on today then.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else, but oh shit! It was that one. I appreciated the irony that was a lot of the irony that was thrown in this movie, but the idea that you're taking Andy from laundry services to perform laundering services was just. I chuckled.
He did make that joke. Yeah,
I loved it. It was just like, the fact that they even remind, in case you didn't get it. Yeah, like I said, in case you didn't get it, the fact that Andy's like, hey, by the way.
So good.
In case some of you didn't get this.
And if you haven't watched this with subtitles, I highly suggest it. Some of my favorite lines that I have quoted for 25 plus years come from background fucking people. I don't know how many times I've said, you guys run this place like a fucking prison.
Yeah.
I just love that dude. I don't know who said it, but man, thank that guy for that.
There's just some rando guy in the background.
Yeah.
Mine is always the I've had your mother. She wasn't that great.
Yeah, that's good too. So much good stuff in this. All right. I suppose we'll move to movie recs. Jason, you are the guest. If people loved this, what else should they watch?
They should watch anything that Frank Darabont makes.
Yes.
Especially if it's a Stephen King adaptation. So Shawshank, Green Mile, and The Mist, man cannot miss. He is really, really good. Basically anything that's done by Castle Rock Entertainment, which is Rob Reiner's production company. They did this one. They did a lot of these movie adaptations. They all have that same quality to them, that same kind of feel with them. That's Stand By Me would be an example of that as well. They just have that sort of feeling with it. I would also mention, I mentioned it earlier briefly, but again, The Last Castle, a very different kind of movie. It's still set in a prison, but it also talks about, instead of retaining humanity, it's more about retaining honor in the face of being in prison, because they're soldiers. It's a military prison. So, but it has very similar themes to it, of this morally upright character against a corrupt system trying to beat him down. It's got James Gandolfini and Robert Redford. It's great stuff. So those are definitely some stuff to kind of get you going on the right track with this same feel.
Nice. All right, I've already said what my double feature is going to be, but I'm going to kind of play loosely with that and name a few. So different reasons to have a double feature. If you're going straight with plots and theme, Green Mile, I mean, these two are just fucking phenomenal. It's going to take up a good section of your day watching both of these movies together, but totally fucking worth it. If we're going best Clancy movies, this is always number one to me. Clancy's just fucking amazing in this. But The Mortuary Collection, I cannot get over how fucking great he was in The Mortuary Collection. So check that out. And finally, if you just want to know, James, what do you love? What are your go-to films? What makes you feel better? Watch this and then go watch Not Another Teen Movie, because this is the only time I get to claim these could be a double feature. All right, Don, you are up. What are your 400,000 movies?
All right. I'm going to start off with the 1974 classic Caged Heat. I saw that when I was too young to understand anything that was going on, but I still enjoyed watching it as a prepubescent child. Anyway, let's see, not to stay on that theme, but Broke Down Palace would be another one as far as like people from
I forget about that
level of
movie.
privilege. A lot of people do. I mean, not saying it's forgettable, but it's one of those movies that it was a blip and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
Shutter Island, Hateful Eight, Unforgiven, LA Confidential, The Little Things, which could have been better. Shot Caller, which is highly underrated and beat my expectations. Silence of the Lambs, Unforgiven, A Time to Kill, The Fugitive, Mystic River, Memento, Departed, Nocturnal Animals, Schindler's List, The Shape of Water, Misery, American History X, The Platform, Con Air, and Oz.
Nice. One of those will be our final episode. How interesting.
I mentioned this to my roommate who I watched this movie with last night before we did this thing. And talk about like this movie. It makes me sad. I don't like really cry watching this movie, but I don't know if I mentioned this in my previous episodes, but one of the movies that makes me cry every time is Con Air. Really? I cry every time I watch Con Air, and it's the final scene when the Trisha Yearwood song comes up, and he meets his family and they hug, and I have cried every time I've seen that movie. All 30 times I've seen it, every time it's the stupidest movie, and I mean that in the best way. It's a great movie. But it's a dumb movie, and I cry every time at it. And it really pisses me off that it makes me cry. But this is me owning that shame of. But yeah, and so thank you, Don, for the Broke Down Palace, because that is also, God, that's a good prison movie. I'm gonna go find that. That's got to be somewhere. Maybe it's out of print. I'm gonna go find it.
All right. Well, I suppose that brings us to social media stuff. So, Jason, where can people find you online, buy your new book, all that good stuff?
So, my personal stuff is not interesting enough to follow, but my publishing stuff, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at AEA Press. That is the username for all of those. Also, my website is aeapress.com. That is Alpha Echo Alpha Press.com, all one word. There you can find not only my book, but the other things that I have published and the things that are coming up that are going to be published. You also can find it on Amazon, because of course you can, because we all serve the almighty Amazon because we have to. So definitely go check that kind of stuff out. It's awesome. And as James said, if you are in the Southwest area, do check out your local cons, because there's a really good chance I'll be at one of them, because I am a whore and I love putting myself on panels.
Nice. Is Wounded out already, or?
It is out and available for sale,
but I wasn't
right
sure.
now. Yep, audiobook comes out next month, but the print and ebook versions are available now. The hardback is available exclusively on my website. It comes signed, so That's fun. But if you want a paperback or ebook, those are available on Amazon.
Perfect. All right, cool. Well, I guess that wraps it up for another week. As always, I am James Sabata.
And I don't give a shit.
We'll see you next week here at thenecronoma.com.